there, guys. Welcome to episode 15 of Nectar Nitty Chats. My name is Bree. I live in Baltimore. This is my little corner of YouTube where I talk about my knitting and my projects and what I've been working on. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new, welcome. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. If you have returned, thank you so much for coming back. I just really appreciate the community this space has made, so please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. I love any feedback. I am always interested to hear what you're working on or any thoughts or suggestions you might have for me. But yeah, I just can't believe it's been 15 episodes. I think I'm coming up on 1 year of having made these videos, so maybe I'll do something fun on the 1 year. So I put a poll up on my Instagram yesterday on what should I talk about for episode 15, and it was between kind of going through the yarn that I have and the sweater quantities that I have, or talking about my 2023 knitting goals and aspirations. Or dream knitting. I feel like I've seen dream knitting kind of as a term that a lot of people use for this kind of just video. I'm gonna quickly kind of talk about what I'm wearing and also what I'm working on, and then kind of talk about what's next. So I am wearing, I guess I should a little bit of a longer intro. So I am a social worker. I work in the college persistence space and college access. So I counsel students who are currently pursuing college, career, or military and support them in pursuing their chosen pathway. And that's what I do. I love Baltimore. I've been here for a while now. So if you're local, I'm always happy to hear from locals. If you are visiting or you are from this area, I am a big Marylander, so big fan. Anyway, so I'll get started. I apologize. I'm getting a little mohair in my nose if I'm getting a little sniffly. So what am I wearing? So this is a finished object and what I'm wearing. So this is the Gossamer twist sweater by Caidree. It is a twisted rib. You can kind of see me talking through this. Twisted rib collar, twisted rib cuffs, and a split hem in twisted rib. And this is actually, it's kind of a funny story behind this pattern. So it is knit in Malabrigo Mecha in Anniversario, held with drops kid silk and magenta. And you can kind of see it's got like a little bit of a halo. So I bought this yarn, I think like 2 years ago, and I was with the intention of making a sweater with it. And then I bought the Gossamer twist pattern because I love turtlenecks and I love Caidree's patterns. And so I knew this yarn, since it was highly variegated, would look better in a pattern that has stockinette. So I think tick, like I did a good job there. But Mecha is a single ply superwash yarn, and it's very much a light bulky, where the pattern calls for pretty much like a true bulky yarn, maybe even super bulky, because I think the pattern calls for a bulky yarn held with 2 strands of mohair. I just did a bulky with 1 strand of mohair. My gauge was off, so I sized up in order to accommodate. I made a size large where I usually make a size medium. And I'm pretty happy with the fit. But anyway, so that all being said, I bought this yarn 2 years ago. I bought the pattern. And then I opened up the pattern and I was so overwhelmed. At the time I had only been knitting hats and like cowls, mittens, and stuff like that. I opened up the pattern and I was like, holy crap, I can't do this. Now, knowing what I know now, I definitely could have. It's just that the pattern, Caidree's patterns are so well written and really easy to follow. But I opened it up and I had never, I think, done a pattern that was more than a page long, basically. And it was, you know, a couple pages, and there was the increases and the yoke and the using all the stitch markers and all that. And so I exited out. I was like, I can't do this. It's for the best, because at the time I wasn't a gauge swatcher. I just didn't know so many of the things that I know now. And so I closed it off. But at that time I had caked up all the yarn already. And yeah, but I just wasn't ready. And so this yarn then has been sitting in my stash for a long time, because I just, by the time I started getting around to knitting sweaters, it just wasn't the kind of yarn that I wanted to use to knit for sweaters, because like I said, it's a superwash, light, bulky, and it's so highly variegated. I think the color looks nice. So you can tell this dye lot is a little different, but I did alternate skeins, so I'm overall happy with it. And so I'm really happy I knit this sweater. I couldn't believe how fast it knit up, but I'm glad that I waited until now, because I just know better now. And so I swatched, and the swatch was way too loose using the recommended needles. I think they recommend size 15 needles. I swatched with size 15 needles, and it was like the loosest fabric of all time. I was like, there's no way I'm ever gonna wear a sweater like this. So then I ordered some mohair, and then I also went down a needle size, and that created this fabric, which I'm really happy with. And the stitches are just, I'm really happy with the way the twisted rib looks. I think it looks really clean and nice, which I don't always think about twisted rib. So I would recommend the pattern. The sweater is really warm. In the winter, our apartment does get pretty chilly, so it has been nice to like throw over. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I'm finding with mohair, I can tolerate it on my arms and body, but I do on my chest get a little itchy. So right now I'm wearing a black t-shirt under this, and I'm finding it really wearable. And the other thing, I'm overall happy with the pattern, but the neck has become more of I wouldn't call it a turtleneck necessarily. It's more of like I don't know. It's almost trying to be a cowl neck. I think because the sweater is so heavy, because it's bulky with mohair, and it's like several hundred grams. I think like 600 grams of yarn. It just really weighs down. And then I did a silly thing, which I always do, and I made my sleeves a little bit too short. I have plenty of yarn. It's an easy fix. That being said, it doesn't like bother me that much when I wear it, because also the yarn, like I can easily pull it down like this. And when I'm working, it's actually kind of nice to not have the sleeves all the way down here, but I wanted this sweater to be kind of cozy, and so I would like to go back and fix it and make the sleeves, you know, like this much longer, which then I just have really long dramatic twisted rib sleeves, which I think would actually look really nice. And it has a twisted rib hem, and I'm happy with the length that I knit it. The other thing is this pattern doesn't have short rows, which at this point I think every sweater I've knit has had short rows, so the pattern compensates for it by doing the split hem and a longer twisted rib in the back. But that being said, I do feel like as a result, it sits a little funny on my neck. I'm nearly positive every other Caidree pattern I've knit has short rows. So I think it's just an earlier pattern that might it just doesn't have it. It's also possible it has short rows now, but I have bought it on Etsy and not on Ravelry, and so I don't automatically get pattern updates. So I just wonder if that's changed, because I know she has a Gossamer twist light, and I'm pretty sure it has short rows. But anyway, so that's what I'm wearing, my Gossamer twist by Caidree, the first sweater I ever intended to make after about however many sweaters I knit last year, a bunch, I finally did it. So I'm happy with it. It's been getting a lot of wear, and even though it's highly variegated, I'm still quite pleased with how it looks on me. I think it looks pretty cute. It's definitely, I think the mohair also helped like mute it a bit, and so it feels a little more cohesive. So I'm happy with it. And then what am I working on? So the theme of 2023, which I'll talk about more after this, is like staple pullovers. Last year I went into knitting thinking like, oh, I have so many pullovers, like I gotta make cardigans. And I think I have 2 pullovers. So I don't know why I had told myself that I didn't have any pullovers. I have my latte sweater and my shifty sweater and this one now. I think those are my only just kind of basic sweaters. And then I have, for cardigans, I have a lot of cardigans now, which I love cardigans, so it works out really well, and I definitely want to knit more in the future. But now I want to focus on making some staple pullovers that I can just throw on and instantly feel like, look, I'm wearing a hand knit. So with that in mind, also this was an entry for the bougie sweatshirt knit along with Young Folk Knits. So that runs through, I think, March 1st. And so my next sweater is also an entry for that. In addition to being part of the Let's Lento knit along. The Let's Lento knit along is in partnership with the Crea and Aimee Palco. And it is knitting the Lento sweater by Jonna. I have the pattern around here somewhere. Jonna Heitala from Laine Publishing. It was in a magazine. And Rebecca from the Crea, I love her podcast. She had knit one and just loved it and talked about how it's a great pattern for when you have yarn but not a ton of it and you want to make a sweater. And so a lot of people will lean towards the ranunculus or the love note, and she found this one, and it is, you use a fingering held with a lace weight. So I'm using mohair, and it's like 14 stitch gauge. So it's like a very airy fabric, but it's not see-through though, which I was really expecting it would create a see-through fabric, and it doesn't. And so I have made possibly the most luxurious sweater that I've ever made. It is my Lento, which I will show you. So this color is showing up actually pretty well. It is this like beautiful midnight blue. I'm just so thrilled with it. And this pattern is, the sleeves are both done. So it knits up so fast. So this knit up really fast. Like I think I legitimately finished it in a week. I could not believe how fast it knit up because it's the bulky with the mohair. If I had held 2 strands of mohair, it would have knit. I mean, not that another strand of mohair changes things that much, but I think it just would have knit up really fast. But this one is knitting up really fast too. It's on like US, what am I using right now? For the ribbing, I'm using, I have the pattern. I can look at the pattern. So let's see. Love rustling paper on a podcast. It's like quality. Okay. So for needles, you use US 10 for the body and then US 6 for the ribbing. So it works up so quickly. And so I'm actually on the bottom ribbing now, and the ribbing is what's taking the longest because I'm doing like 2.5, 3 inches of ribbing, and I love it. It has a folded collar, which is the first time I've ever done a folded collar, and I think it's so stinking cute. It looks so good on. It definitely in terms of a bougie sweatshirt, it really fits that because it fits this pattern. It kind of fits like a sweatshirt. I'm knit a size up than I would normally so that I would have some positive ease. And it's working out really well because I have positive ease on my bust, but then the sleeves are really nice and tapered and fit me really well. So then even though it's got kind of like a boxier body for me, the sleeves are fitting really well. And so I am super excited. So they yarn, which is creating this beautiful effect. So this is Sewrella's Cashmere sock, which I have right here. I have in my knitting bag. Sewrella's Cashmere sock in the color Velvet, which is this just like really, really pretty dark blue. The yarn is really, really soft. This is from their winter tonals. Their autumn tonals collection. They do quarterly tonals based on the season, and they bring them back every year. And I loved the autumn palette. I can see myself buying from it again. And I bought this one this past year because I saw it the year before. I really, really wanted it. I held off. They brought it back this year, so I was really excited. And then I'm holding it with this ball of mohair, which is actually showing up really nicely. This is La Bien Aimee mohair, soft silk mohair, and the color Winterfell. I mean, it is so pretty. You can see the core is kind of like this really shiny. I feel like I always see podcasters do this. I don't think it does anything on the iPhone, but it has this like really shiny, let's see if I can get it to focus, core. And then you can see like the fluff coming off of it. And it's this dark midnight blue. And I'm so pleased with how it's coming out because I think it has that kind of iridescent quality, but it's still this like beautiful midnight blue. And I have to say, the only mohair I've used so far is I used like Sugar Bush Drizzle, and I really, really liked that one, but it's no longer, I don't think they carry it any longer. And then Drops, I've used the Kid Silk, and I'm fine with it. That's what I used here. I'm fine with it. But this one, the La Bien Aimee, is so soft and it's so delicate. It totally gets me. I feel like the knitting community is so into mohair right now, and with Drops Kid Silk, that is the option I've purchased because it's the most affordable. But this one, it makes me kind of buy into the mohair train a little bit more because it is so soft, and it doesn't like it's like next to skin soft. I can see this, wearing this constantly and feeling super comfortable. It's not itchy, where I do feel like Drops Kid Silk, I think, is good value for what you get, but I don't think it's like as soft. And so it does make me want to try other mohairs. But the problem is the cost. This though has definitely kind of converted me into like liking mohair a lot more than I did originally, where previously I was like thinking about moving away from mohair for cost reasons and for wearability, but now I'm like, oh, I love this. But anyway, so it's 2 skeins of I'm using 2 skeins of this sock, the cashmere sock, and then I had 2 skeins of the mohair, and I'm gonna have a lot of mohair left over. Not a full skein, but I definitely need 2 skeins, 200 grams, but I'm loving it. I'm obsessed with it. This is, every time I make a sweater, I think I heard Rebecca on the Crea say this is like, every time I make something, it's my new favorite, which I think is true. For this sweater, I'm like definitely feeling that it's my favorite right now. So anyway, that was kind of a lot on what I'm wearing and my works in progress, but it leads right into my 2023 knitting aspirations. So I have my notebook, and like I said, so I want this to be the year of staple pullovers, and now that I've been knitting for over 2 years, I think I know myself as a knitter better and what I wear. I think there's a difference between what I'm drawn to color-wise and what I'm find wearable. And I think trying on all my finished objects last episode was a helpful way for me to kind of visualize, okay, like I knit this and I liked knitting it, but I'm not really wearing it, and why is that? So this year I want to focus on really purchasing or knitting to wear, and I am gonna try and make a concerted effort to knit from my stash as much as possible. And so I have beautiful yarns in my stash that I have plans for. I'm definitely not doing a yarn no buy. I think I'm just trying to be a lot more mindful of my purchases. Purchasing for a project, is this something I'm really gonna wear? I think I'm definitely trying to be more mindful where, this worked out because, excuse me, I do really like it and it's very comfortable, but this is not a yarn that I'm going to use again in a garment, to be honest. And so, while I find this really wearable and I wear it all the time, I do want more kind of classic, more staple pieces. So what I've done is I'm not gonna lock myself into any specific patterns because I know myself. I did a Make 9 last year and I did actually tick off a few of those, but I'm not gonna do one again this year because I think I want the yarn to kind of tell me what it wants to be. And also I love test knitting, and so I'm not gonna not do a test knit because I have some other project lined up. Like I want to be able to follow the joy. I mean, that's the whole point of this, is for me to get joy out of it. And I don't want to feel like sad about what I'm working on because I have to knit for my stash or I have to knit this certain pattern. Like, no, I want to be able to be inspired and have flexibility. That being said, I have a few kinds of projects that I definitely am very interested in trying. And so in terms of staple pullovers, I would say pullovers is going to be kind of my first staple pieces. That's kind of my first category. And so I have a few patterns in my queue that I have yarn for. And so those are definitely pretty high on my priority list. One of them is I've talked about this one already, the Dartmoor by Caidree, which is a classic pullover, and it comes out to a bulky weight because it is a, Aran, I think, held with mohair, or I forget what the actual pattern calls for, but I bought this Knitting for Olives. This is their double soft merino, which is discontinued. I got it on discount during their fundraiser for the war in Ukraine. And it's super soft and it's really lovely, but it's really light. It's kind of like a chainette yarn. And so I've been thinking about a project for this for a while. And so I paired it with brushed alpaca silk, which is also really soft. So this is a Drops brushed alpaca silk. It is alpaca and silk, so it's incredibly soft. And I paired these together and it created this really, really nice fabric. So my plan is to make myself a Dartmoor with this. So that is definitely really high on my priority list for this year, and that definitely ticks the staple pullover, super cozy, very, very wearable. I've seen Laura from Penrose Knits wear hers a lot. I'm gonna take a sip of water. I feel like my voice is getting a little gravelly. And it's beautiful. And I think it looks super duper wearable. So that's very, very high on my priority list. In that same category of kind of staple pullovers, I have this beautiful gray yarn. I've shown this on the podcast a couple of times. It is a kind of lightly speckled, also blown yarn, Illimani Amelie, 56% silk, 40% alpaca, 4% merino. So it is super, super, super soft. I think the silk must be the chain. Now I look, it's like a chain blown yarn. It's showing up a little more yellow than it actually is, but it's gorgeous. And so I want to make the home sweater v-neck with that, which is like a classic v-neck. It's meant to be worn with a lot of positive ease. It has a split hem. I've made it before, and so that is really up there. Other patterns that I am excited about possibly making as this year as a staple, as part of my staple wardrobe, capsule wardrobe, I guess is kind of the term. The Semper collection by the Knit Purl Girl. I love Sophie's patterns. I've definitely got a few of these on here. The Semper collection is like, she has a really, really beautiful, very classic fitting raglan, like a raglan pullover that I really like. And right now the Semper V-neck is in testing and it looks really, really beautiful. It's just very, I don't know, just very clean. The fit is really, really nice. I think it's just the right amount of ease. It fits without being tight. I just really, really like the way that fits. I think it helps also that Sophie, I've knit her patterns before and I have had a really good experience, and she's also just really lovely. And so I really like the Semper Sweater, the original, the V-neck, and then I know she's also coming out with a couple, what are they called? Slipovers. There's like a V-neck and just like a more traditional vest shaped one. So I have not knit a slipover before, but I'm keeping my eye on those because I think they're really cute. I think styling a slipover is what's prevented me from making one. I see people wear them. I think they're very, very cute. I have not ever worn a slipover myself, and so I am not totally sure how that would fit in my wardrobe. But I do love I think particularly the V-neck one, I think is very, very cute. So that is those are some examples of sweaters that I'm considering this year for the kind of just throw on anytime, wear, like get a lot of wear, instantly feel like I'm kind of elevating my wardrobe. So another like block of kind of work I'd like to try and do, I don't know, work is the right, like a genre of knitting, is a cable knit sweater. I have a beautiful cable knit sweater I bought in Ireland. I wear it all the time. I get asked all the time if I knit it. I did not. It is all over very complex cable knit sweater and 100% merino wool, and it is wonderful, but I obviously did not knit it myself. I find cables to be really time consuming and laborious, and so I have been pretty nervous to try a cable knit sweater. I really, really want to, and there's some really beautiful cable knit patterns that I've had my eye on. And so I am really, really interested in the Eclair sweater that is currently being test knit for Laura of Penrose Knit. And I've seen Laura's podcast, and I love the turtleneck, and I love the split hem and the long ribbing. I have also seen that there are versions being knit without bobbles, which would be my preference. I hate knitting bobbles. I think mine always look terrible. I think they look cute in patterns, but I hate knitting them, and mine always look like sad. So I don't think if I were to knit, which I'm pretty sure at this point, I'm pretty leaning towards that I really want to knit that pattern, I do not think I would do a bobbled version. So that is one. Another is the Dornie, which is currently being test knit for the Crea Bea. And I really like it. It's like classic, it's clean, it's elegant without being too aggressive. And Rebecca herself has said that it's like you do the cable every like 6 rounds or something like that. And so I think that definitely is, for me, somebody who doesn't knit a lot of cable knits, that sounds kind of better. So I think, I don't know, but I think they're both kind of clean with that cable knit look without being so textured that I would just give up, basically. Another cable knit pattern that I think I actually own this one is the August sweater, which is Kolibri by Johanna. So she's a German designer. She has a lot of beautiful designs, and when she was running a sale at one point, I bought her August sweater, which again, it's an all over cable sweater. It's very classic looking. I think with that one, what concerns me is I think even the sleeves are cable, where with the Dornie and the Eclair, I'm pretty sure just the body is cabled and then the sleeves are stockinette. So I could see myself knitting that one in the future, but I might start with something like the Dornie or the Eclair in order to kind of get my feet wet, because again, cables are kind of intimidating for me. Not because I don't think I can do them. I think just like the time consuming part of it, and knitting with the cable needle, without a cable needle, I just don't have a lot of experience. I love how cables look though. I think they're so beautiful. So that's a cable knit sweater. I'm going to put on my aspirations this year a cable knit sweater, but I'm not going to specify which yet and what yarn either. Then another area that I'd really like to delve into is I would really like kind of a colorwork sweater, like a colorwork yoke sweater. I have my Shifty, which is a mosaic style round yoke colorwork sweater, and I love it, but I would like to try a stranded colorwork sweater, which is an area that I have not done. And I've done stranded colorwork in the round and on hats, and I have to say, not great at it. Colorwork I find really intimidating. It puckers, the floats, like holding in multiple hands. I find it to be really, really difficult. And so I consider myself like a intermediate knitter, maybe almost advanced, but there's some skills that I just, it's not that I can't do it, it's that I'm normally not happy with my product. But that being said, I would really like to knit a colorwork pattern. So I have a couple that I've saved, and I think also would be good to use up some of my leftovers from other projects. So the first one I've considered it's the Color Story Tee by Tiff Neilan. She has so many beautiful colorwork patterns and just general patterns, and so she's been on my list of possibly to knit. I saw somebody I follow on Instagram knit hers in a test knit, and her version is beautiful, and I love the testers versions too. And I think it'd be a good way to use up, I think, Rio's scraps, because I believe it's a worsted weight pattern. So that one's really beautiful. By the same designer is the Heartwood sweater. I really, really like that one. I think that one. And then she also has one, I think it was called the watercolor one, which uses marling, and I love that. And too, another good way to use up some scraps. So I love those. There's by Nomad Stitches, the Ixchel pullover. This one might be a little bit out of my range right now, but I think it was so beautiful. So I saw that one and I have it saved on my Ravelry favorites, and it's so beautiful. So I really like that one. And then I also have saved the Lovebird sweaters by Kate Oates, which I think is really, really sweet. This one I could see myself actually knitting more as a gift. I have a friend who is very, very into birds, and my mom is also very into birds, and I think the design is really beautiful. I think it uses color shifting yarn. I'm pretty sure it uses Spin Cycle. I would likely not use Spin Cycle, but possibly use Feederbrook or Yarn Hero, or Young Folk Knits talked about Cascade Heritage Wave. I could see myself using one of those as a substitute, but it's a very sweet little sweater with like a bird motif, and it's really, really cute. So I really like that one. And then another one that somebody I follow on Instagram knit was the Untangled crop by Olga Potano, and it is so beautiful. This is another one that I feel like might be a little bit beyond my scope right now, but I'll pop pictures in of all of these, but it is so pretty. The yoke, I can't even describe the motif. It's just really gorgeous, and the pictures I've seen of the pattern, I just love it. I think it's so beautiful. So this year, that all being said, I would love to knit a Colorwork yoke sweater. So if you have any others that you think are like a good kind of introduction into that area, definitely let me know, because I'm just really interested in. And also I noticed like the Knit Purl girl had the Haze sweater, which I thought was really beautiful, and that would be a fun one for Christmas. I noticed she is also knitting another Colorwork yoke right now, and so I could see myself, this is an area where I could see myself maybe popping into a test knit, and I really do miss test knitting. I haven't test knit a sweater since the first cardigan, which finished up in November, and so I'm kind of itching to get back into a tester group, and I've been really trying to talk myself out of testing recently, but I think I'm feeling that like ready to hop back into that. So then my next kind of like realm that I want to knit one of is I would really like to knit a striped sweater this year. So I have seen a lot of really beautiful striped patterns. I personally love stripes. My mom, whenever I buy a striped shirt or she sees a striped sweater, she like will send me a picture or be like, that's so you, because I love stripes. I wear them a lot, and especially like love a like blue and white stripe. I don't know, I really love it. And so patterns that I have considered for stripes, and again kind of a scrap buster, is currently in testing, which is a theme. I'm definitely just always eyeing patterns that are in testing. So is the Farnham by the Knit Purl girl. This sweater looks nearly identical to a sweater I have hanging in my closet, and I would like to basically knit that sweater and just have a hand knit version of it and probably donate the store-bought one. It is this beautiful stripes kind of roll neck with a lot of positive ease. It's really beautiful. This one is one I almost certainly see myself knitting this year. I know I said I wasn't going to lock myself into any particular pattern, but that one is one that I know I'm going to knit. It's just whether or not it happens this year or not. I think it might be a fall cast on for me so that I can wear it possibly as a Christmas sweater. Farnham sweater. The other one I'm really interested in is the Northwood V-neck by Jessie Maid. I think there's so many beautiful colorful versions of it. Again, another one that is just a really lovely way to use up leftovers from other projects. I have knit Jessie Maid patterns before, and I think they're really great. Super size inclusive. She gives lots of affordable yarn options in her patterns. I just really like her as a designer, and I would like to knit more of her patterns. So the Northwood V-neck is definitely up there for me. And then another one that I really like is the Stripey Turtle Tank by Emily Curtis. She's Gently Chaotic Knits on YouTube, and I have been kind of eyeing her designs and have yet to knit them, but the Stripey Turtle Tank is a really cute like high neck tank. I think it's knit bottom up and it's cropped, but I would knit probably full length, and I like that high neck kind of fit. I wear a lot of tank tops like that, and I think that's one where I could get away with wearing it for work and layering with one of my cardigans. And so that is another one that I've definitely had in my favorites for a long time. And then my last kind of like clump that I'm interested in exploring is scrappy projects. So I have so many scraps, and I have over time been saving project ideas for these scraps. And so I have a high amount of DK and fingering and worsted weight scraps. And so a pattern that I own and would really, really like to knit is the Sea Glass Sweater by Wool and Pine, which its whole point is basically for scraps. And I could see myself knitting it because you can hold 2 fingering weight together. You can use DK just straight up. They said you can even get away with worsted. I think with a sweater like that, I would be okay with changes in gauge as long as it's not so dramatic, because you're using so many different yarns that, I don't know. I think for me, like, I wouldn't expect it. It's not going to look super clean. You know, I think it'll block nicely. It'll be warm. It'll be textured. It'll be pretty. Like, I don't actually mind that it'll have some variation in that regard. And I think it would be a great way to use up some scraps. So that is the Sea Glass Sweater by Wool and Pine. There also is a Sea Glass Tee, which I imagine is a lighter weight version that probably uses fingering weight yarn, but I am not positive. I would have to look. And so that has been on my knit list for a while. And I think my big thing is that you're just alternating 2 colors. And so I think it will be kind of a labor of love, because I will have to knit with 2 hands, which I have done in the past, but it's definitely not a strength. So other scrappy projects that I have looked at, the Le Pouf Sweater, which is by Becta? Hold on. I don't know. The Le Pouf Sweater, it was published in Hedgehog Fibers. I'll link that information down below. But it's a marled sweater that kind of, you can use like all different colors. And I'm really interested in the idea of marling something. I have saved a couple marled projects, like the Marligan, I believe, by Stephen West. And, you know, the different marled blankets, just different ways to kind of, again, scrap bust, but it be a cohesive piece. Because I'll be honest, everybody says, oh, make a scrappy blanket, and I just really don't like knitting blankets that much, and so that's not been of interest to me. But the last project that I have highlighted, which I got off of High Fiber Knits, is the Excavation Blanket, which is by Jonna Pinota. I'll link it down below. And it is a striped blanket where you don't have to weave in ends, because you turn the ends into fringe. And so that is definitely a huge bonus, because that is the big thing about scrappy projects, is you have to weave in so many ends. Once I get going on weaving in ends, I don't hate it, but it's definitely not my favorite. So, okay, that's basically the areas that I'm interested in. Other things that skills I would like to try, I'm very interested in trying brioche. I've done half fisherman's rib, but I've not done a full-on brioche sweater. So I think Claire Eggers has a couple brioche patterns, like a cardigan, and she has a super bulky sweater that I wouldn't knit a super bulky brioche sweater. She's a new one, like the Fab jumper, that I'm kind of interested in. And then I've thought about, with Colorwork, I kind of like the idea of trying Intarsia at some point. Will that be this year? I'm not sure. And yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot out there that I want to try, but I'm trying not to pigeonhole myself to specific patterns, which is why I've kind of clumped into these groups. So if you have had experience knitting any of these patterns, or if you are like, Bree, there's this really great one that you're missing, please feel free to drop a comment. And so the buckets I talked about were staple pieces, cable patterns, colorwork yoke pattern sweaters, stripes, I know people are probably going to say the Andrea Mowry striped sweater. So definitely on my radar. And scrappy. What have you like to do with your scraps? That's not a blanket. I challenge you, that's not a blanket. And then that's kind of everything. The last area of knitting that I haven't really decided on is gift knitting. So if you saw my episode 2 ago, you saw I did a lot of Christmas gift knitting. This year I have plans and yarn to definitely knit a sweatshirt. The Two of Wands will actually be my next cast on. And I plan to make something for Steve, a sweater. I have yet to decide on the pattern. It might be another zipper sweater man. I might go crazy and do like a masculine shifty for him because Steve really loves colors. So I could see myself doing a shifty that has like a main color that is black and then bringing in a lot of fun colors because Steve loves like a rainbow gradient on a black background, and so that's something I've really considered, but I just don't know how the shifty would fit on him, so that is a concern, but I think I could probably hack it. And then my friends are having babies, and so I think that is an area where I could also scrap bust. I am really interested in making baby sweaters. I love making baby sweaters. They're so fun. And I am planning on making some bonnets. I love the Hector's bonnet, and that I believe you can hold 2 strands of fingering together. And so I think that's another way I'm thinking about getting scrappy is baby projects. And so that is kind of something I want to try more of, is just like creative ways of using my scraps in smaller projects, whether that be with hats, accessories, baby projects, because like I said, I'm not a blanket person. So I generally am gonna want it in a garment, and baby garments are the most fun. They're so cute. So anyway, that was a long one. That is my 2023. These are my 2023 goals and aspirations, my dream knitting. Lots of exciting projects ahead. I am kind of letting my joy take me where it will. And you guys will probably see it as it all comes together. I hope you are having a great start to the new year. Happy Lunar New Year to those who celebrate. I just appreciate you for being here. Like I said, please feel free to like or comment or subscribe, and I will catch you next time. Bye.